faces behind our latest war tragedy. The 3 Australian diggers murdered by a rogue Afghan soldier are named.
Plucked from the ocean and pleading for asylum, the survivors of the latest tragedy claim they've been mistreated as they're taken to Indonesia.
An apology 50 years in the making. The manufacturer of thalidomide says sorry.
It's the sort of apology you give when you're not really sorry. It's also insulting.
And the property makeover sweeping the country. First home buyers putting the boom back in the market.
This is 10 News with Natarsha and Matt Doran.
First tonight, 3 Australian diggers killed by a rogue Afghan soldier this week have now been named by the Australian Defence Force.
10's Tegan George joins us now from Brisbane, where a defence charity dinner is about to get underway, and the diggers will of course be at the forefront of everyone's minds. Tegan, what can you tell us about the fallen troops?
Well, Matt, the Australian Defence Force just released their names and images a short time ago. Those soldiers have been named as 40-year-old Lance Corporal Stepan Milosevic, 23-year-old Private Robert Pote and 21-year-old Sapper James Martin.
Well, today marks the first day of the property spring selling season, and early signs for the real estate market are good.
Economists say buyer activity is up, but not all of Australia's states are expected to see prices on the rise. Ellie Southwood joins us with more tonight. And Ellie, what can we expect for the last part of this year?
Well, Tash, winter hasn't been all that bad, but the expectation is that spring around the country will be strong. Buyer activity is up, with the strongest price growth expected in Perth and Sydney, and even in the top end of the market, which has been sluggish for a while, there are signs of a revival.
These are the signs of selling season, and this 2-bedroom unit in the exclusive Sydney suburb of Mossman was one of the first off the mark.
Still to come tonight, our Olympic swimmers dive back into training, hosing down speculation they're not committed. Plus, thousands flee as wildfires ravage Spain. Also, Neil Armstrong laid to rest. Fellow astronauts paid tribute to their heroes. And our Paralympians power on, breaking medal records in the pool. Police believe a young driver could be responsible for the death of his mate after his car slammed into a tree in Sydney's west. Witnesses say the P-plate driver was speeding through a residential street at Fairfield when the car apparently left the road. The damage was so severe it took rescue crews nearly 2 hours to try and free the pair. The passenger, a man in his 20s, died in hospital. Talking about outstanding athletes, it's time now for an update on all the weather details with Reuben Mourad. And Reuben, I know you love this cliche, spring has sprung.
Oh, don't get me started. It's the first day, so essentially my argument is that it hasn't actually sprung yet until it's over, but we'll leave that there. Let's take a look and see how it started off anyway, starting off first in Brisbane, where after a chilly night, 4 degrees below the average for this time of year, dropping down to around 9 degrees. We saw a daytime high of 22 degrees. So guys, that's what happened for the first day of spring. Well, it certainly hasn't sprung just yet, I reckon. I think we need to wait for a little while longer. There is some good news, though, with some slightly warmer weather on the horizon for much of eastern Australia. Very, very good indeed, I reckon.
Outstanding news. Let's hope so too. All right, Reuben, thanks. We'll check in again soon. Still to come, a former Marine goes on a deadly shooting rampage in a US supermarket.
Also, 15 years on, tributes flow for the People's Princess.
And later in sport, the Hawks win the minor premiership, but they could lose Brent Guerra for the rest of the finals. The latest on his hamstring injury. That's ahead.
And Bernard Tomic accused of tanking by one of the game's greats. His fiery response, plus all the big Aussie results from the US Open coming up.
You're with 10 News. Firefighters in Spain are struggling to contain a huge bushfire burning in the south of the country. One person's been killed and several thousand have been evacuated from the resort region, with high temperatures and strong winds fanning the flames. Firefighters on the ground have been backed up by aircraft battling the blaze, Authorities believe it was deliberately lit.
Still to come tonight, the violent pub brawl that's left a man fighting for life.
Also, our youngest Paralympic medalist yet makes waves in London.
And the Salvo's volunteer praised for her bravery.
Big promises, but where's the money coming from when the budget's going south? And Clint makes my day.
10 a.m. Sunday on 10.
Tonight's headlines. Defence officials release the names and photographs of the 3 soldiers killed by a rogue Afghan soldier this week.
Today marks the first day of the property spring selling season, and the signs for the real estate market are good, with growth expected in Perth and Sydney.
And another boatload of asylum seekers has been intercepted as survivors from a vessel that sunk off Indonesia plead to be brought to Australia.
Time now to hear the latest sports news with Victoria Murphy and Tori. Geelong locked in a home final this afternoon.
Yeah, they did. They beat the Swans thanks to a brilliant third term, but it may have come at a cost. Geelong's Paul Chapman was booked for striking on a spiteful afternoon at Simmons Stadium. Things got ugly over in Adelaide too. We'll have all the highlights next. And is this one of the greatest ever try-saving tackles? Reaction from the Rabbitohs' magic trick is next. Plus, Bernard bristles after being accused of giving up at the US Open.
That's how I play. Do you have a problem with that? No?
The Cats have secured a home elimination final after outclassing the Swans by 34 points in Geelong this afternoon. The defending champions proved they're still a genuine premiership threat with a 10-goal-to-6 second half. This might look like your everyday American high school football team, but check out the ponytail on number 13. That's Erin DeMeglio from South Plantation High, and she just become the first female quarterback to play a regular season game in Florida.
It's a great feeling, yeah, but I think it should be a whole team. It's a team effort, you know.
As third string, she only came on in the dying minutes of the game, but she did prove she can match it with the boys. And for that, she gets our play of the day. Very brave.
Wow.
Girl.
Very brave indeed. And inspiration enough to perhaps get you out on the field, Tash?
No chance.
No, right, fair enough. Well, all right, stay with us after the break. Reuben Mourad joins us with all the weather details.
On Meet the Press, where is the Coalition on Climate Change? Spokesman Greg Hunt.
Australians are saying very simply, what's the point?
10:30 Sunday on 10.
A very good evening to you for the first day of spring, where we've certainly started it off with some very chilly conditions right across parts of southeastern Australia. Now, that is all due to an area of high pressure which has really been keeping the skies very clear. Generally right across parts of New South Wales and Victoria, we've been seeing this area of high pressure here, really seeing a very little cloud, and dry weather has really been taking hold across inland parts of Queensland, New South Wales in particular. The ACT too saw a very, very cold morning with temperatures right across the region well and truly below freezing, which is very unusual for spring. But in terms of the rainfall over the next couple of days, well, it's looking very calm and quiet. Generally, that area of high pressure is keeping things very settled. Certainly through the inland parts, we haven't got any rain at all, and generally down the coast, well, apart from some exposed coastal areas across the east, things looking very dry. Take a look at Western Tasmania, because we have got another front here which will slide on through, perhaps driving in a couple of showers across western coastal parts later in the day, but that's pretty much it with the dry weather. I say it, by the time we reach around Friday, we could see the return of temperatures up to around 29 degrees. Not bad for the first week of summer, guys. Spring, rather. Getting ahead of myself, but you know, I'm not a fan of winter, so these 29-degree temperatures, very nice indeed, I reckon.
Outstanding news. Thanks so much, Reuben. Well, that is 10 News for this Saturday. I'm Matt Doran.
And I'm Natarsha. Thanks so much for your company. Good night.